At that time, I used to try to call out to our new location in Maple Grove, and I'd call the neighbor. He was selling me an acre and a half or 2.5 acres or whatever it was. And it was long distance call from Brooklyn Center. So we kind of all thought to ourselves, wow, you know, we're going to be kind of isolated out there, you know.
Pioneers were allowed to have 5 acres of land if they were, this was under the President Lincoln's program, if they homesteaded the land, they tilled the land, they created a crop, they built a house, and they lived there for 5 years, then the land was there for free. And so that brought many of the pioneers to Golden Valley as well as other communities in this area. And from there, they, most of them became farmers.
A lot of the farmers that farmed in the summer would then go up in the winter up to the white pine virgin forest and cut logs in the winter because that's when they did it. They couldn't get logs out during the summer, but all the cutting took place in the winter, and then when the rivers thawed out, then of course all the logs would come pouring into Minneapolis. Those logs would come down the Rum River and Mississippi River and then come into North Minneapolis. When they got into Brooklyn Township, that's when they really started sorting them out. So each of the lumber mills put their own mark on the logs, and the men here in Brooklyn Township would then sort them out and then get them to the right sawmills in Minneapolis.
The day the mill blew up in that Brooklyn area, he went to his dad and said, well, now I'm going to go join my brother, who's already with the 1st Minnesota. So he went out and he was at Antietam, but he wasn't wounded. So then Marcus went to Gettysburg, and on the second day he got shot, and a couple of days later he was dead.
Growing up as a child here, I seen all my parents, grandparents doing a lot of the work, but then I learned to do it myself, and things have just carried on. Going to high school in Osseo here, there were 38 of us in our graduating class in 1954. And that went over to Champlin and Brooklyn Park and out to Corcoran, and that was the big district for the one school in Osseo. But so we've seen a lot of changes.
Robbinsdale at the time I grew up was a small community. It was a great place to grow up into. We had long before the Terrace Theater, we had the Crystal Theater, which was on 42nd, right off Broadway, which they changed to the Robin Theater. There was always a serial every weekend. It was like, you know, the Superman or something, and then all of a sudden, and that would be on for a while. That wasn't the main picture, but that was the thing that brought the kids into the shows on Saturday afternoon. And then, you know, they'd go on, all of a sudden here they were throwing them off the cliff, and then it would say, oh, next week, come next week and see what happens to, you know, does he get killed or what, you know. And God, so you'd think, I got to get my 15 cents together. I got to get in there and see what's going on next week.
But the last day, he says, I'm going to the airport and I'm going to get my plane and I'm going to come and crash into this deal. But there was a couple of guys from the FAA said, no, you can't do that. He says, well, I'm going to do it anyway. So he says, I'm leaving now. So as soon as he got in his car and started to go, these 2 guys from the FAA went over to the new airport and they're waiting for him to come. Well, he didn't go to the airport. He had the plane over in Maple Grove. They hopped in the plane and he came here and crashed the thing into the building, and it was all over, and the guys were still waiting for him at the Crystal Airport.
So in the 60s of the celebration of celebrating Brooklyn Park, of course it had to be about potatoes, so that's how Tater Days became. And I remember I was one of the first Tater Buds. So, you know, you had the junior high kids did things, we were in the parade and everything, and we were the helpers at all the events. So we wore a little gunny sack That's what we wore, so I suppose I was in junior high, so it was one of the first. We didn't get to keep our potato sack, otherwise that'd be great, but we had to pass it down to the next year. So we were very proud to wear our potato sacks. So.
Well, Phil Cohen, he was an amazing little man. You know, and everybody called him the little man because, of course, I think he was shorter than almost anybody except me. But he had such a patriotic heart. His father was an immigrant coming to the United States and instilled in his children, you know, the honor of living here.
At that time, believe it or not, I don't think there was one stop sign in Maple Grove when we got out there. Mostly gravel roads. We lived right on County Road 30 and the corner of Lawndale Lane, which still exists and is expanded to quite a modern highway at this time. So we have fond memories of that area.